Right, how y'all doing? This is it's going to be a weird one. Okay, I have found my new favorite toy, and in turn found out something about myself that I'm not entirely comfortable with. I don't know how I feel to admit into it, but I'll get to that. We'll just throw out there, this is not an advertisement for anything, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, if anyone's curious, my new favorite toy is this. It's a Digitech Drop guitar pedal. And the aim of the game for this thing is to literally take your guitar and down tune it. Okay, but I'll get to that groove. I didn't want to load like that and then be like, what the hell? Right. I don't know anything about guitar, so you're not going to get anything out of me about this pedal shy of what it does and why I really like it. Okay, I've put this thing on order and I've been waiting for it for a wee while because I like to play a game called Rocksmith. I've explained Rocksmith before in other videos. It's interactive guitar tabs, like guitar music. Imagine Guitar Hero, but instead of having like 5 notes on a plastic guitar, you've got all the notes for a song on an actual guitar. You tune your guitar, and as the notes come down, you play the notes that come up on the bits on the neck of the guitar, and you're playing the song. You are learning to play the song. I don't like reading tabs, and I don't like reading sheet music, so like Rocksmith was a cool, fun way just for me to dick around with guitar. It's a way of kind of like practicing and playing. I am self-taught. I am terrible. I am still very much firmly in the beginner phases of guitar, even though I've been dabbling with guitar for over nearly 20 years or over 20 years, one of the two. But I know nothing. As an example of how little I know how to tune a guitar, I know how to set up a guitar. Like, I know how to adjust the neck and the heights of things and making sure the strings are all stuff. And I should have probably actually led in with one of the things I've learned today is that I should probably pay more attention and take more care, read the playability of my instruments, but because that was supposed to be the lead-in of the vlog, not the favourite toy, because I know how to set up instruments, but I don't bother, right? If you could hand me a piece of wood with pickups on it and strings, and I'm happy. Okay, I'm happy. If I can make like sounds come out of it, I'm happy. And I picked up my Strat today, so just a cheapy Fender Squier Strat beginner guitar, and I just kind of went, noodling with the old noodling with like a couple of chords, yeah. And I was like, oh, why is this like really difficult? Why am I like muting that string with my finger? And I just took the guitar and I looked at it. I was like, oh wow, man, this Strat, the neck is like a banana. So like at the top of the neck it's like pretty low, the strings are pretty low and close to the fretboard, so getting chords are really simple, but as you go further down, the strings get higher, the action gets higher, and so it's harder to cleanly press these things down without muting other strings. Fantastic. I was like, ugh. But I know how to do that stuff. I know how to tune guitars. I know like some chordy shapes. I guess I kind of know some guitar scales, but I don't know them. Okay, talking to friends today, I've been noodling around on one of my little basses, and I was like, I like how this sounds. This is really cool. If I do this and this and this here on the bass, this sounds pretty cool. And I was told today, oh yeah, that's the pentatonic whatever. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, that thing there is part of a pentatonic scale. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, oh, well, what about this? And I was like, oh, yeah, that's to me, like, I was like, that's the thing you do to play part of the intro of Megadeth's Tornado of Souls, and folks just look at me and go, do you not know any of this? The straight answer is no, but I've learned little bits from dicking around with other kind of songs over the years, like I guess like major and minor chords. I don't know what they are. I don't know what they're called, but I know certain chord shapes based on how they sound and if they sound good to me. And I'll find a thing that sounds good and then just kind of move it around until I find somewhere else that it sounds good. Bass chords, not a clue. But I make a shape, I pluck the strings, if it sounds good, I stick with it, and then I move it to somewhere else and see if it sounds good there, and then I find places it sounds good, and that's how I've learned to play. Terrible. But so that's my groove, and believe it or not, I've actually taught some people how to play basic guitar because I can read like guitar tabs and sheet music, and I can go, look, here's a guitar, you put your fingers here and you do this, and that's how you make that sound, and you do that a few times like it says here, and there's part of the song, and people are like, oh wow, I've learned how to do a little thing on guitar, and so people get excited and they go off and learn guitar. That's great. That's basically that's the whole of my knowledge. Okay, but I do love guitar and bass. Just there are some things that make guitar and bass a little difficult for me. And as I say, a couple of years ago, I got into Rocksmith, and that was just like a fun thing to do, as it was just throwing stuff at me to like go, oh, quick, hit the note and do the thing, and great, all right. But Rocksmith is also a bit of a pain. As much as I like it, it's a bit of a pain, especially with the way that I've come to play recently. So Rocksmith comes with this thing. They call this the real tone cable, and it's basically just a guitar cable, right? And that hooks into your computer, and you get sounds from your guitar and then into the thing. And Rocksmith goes, and then it matches the things up, okay? But with some of the guitars that I've got, and the ones that I do like to play, especially recently I got some really short scale stuff, like some carry-on stuff, and I get it, this is a bass guitar, but it still stands that the jack is right on the bottom, and if I want to sit down and play, the cable juts right out of the bottom and like digs into my leg, or I start to kind of loosen off the jack and like kind of bend it and wobble it and all that kind of stuff. I don't like that, right? So these are great, but they kind of start to become problematic, and I don't like playing Strats because the pickups on them are noisy. They're single coil pickups, they're noisy, I don't like them, right? So you plug this in, and that's great. You play your guitar groovy, but all of the guitars I like have that jack jutting out of the bottom, right? So that it becomes problematic. My favourite guitar cable is this one. It's got a nice right angle on it, but I can't use this with Rocksmith without a couplery thing. And that's where this came in. This has a bypass on it, so I can plug in on one side, out on the other, in on that side, out on the other, and I can use this cable on my guitar and the real tone cable on the other side, so that it goes out as if it was going to an amplifier rather than to whatever, right? But Rocksmith doesn't know any different. So, as I said, this is to detune a guitar. Tuning a guitar is brilliant, it's wonderful. There's some physics involved, but I'm going to try and keep this mega simple, because as I say, I don't know a thing. I don't want this to be super technical, because it isn't super technical, right? Guitar strings are different thicknesses, and again, I know this is a bass. I get it, the short scale guitar's over there behind the wall, and I didn't think to grab it beforehand, but guitar strings are different thicknesses, right? And how they vibrate depends on how they sound, and how tight they are depends on how they sound too. You tighten them with the little screw majiggers on the thingy, or if you've got a headless majigger, you do the doobry down here, right? And that's groovy, right? Depending on how tight or how loose it is, changes the pitch, how it sounds. Like if it's really kind of like dung, it's kind of looser, depending on the thickness of the string. Or if you tighten it, it kind of goes higher pitched, so it goes a bit more squee, like if you've just been kicked in the nuts. And the shorter the scale, the thicker the string you want, because if you go loose, it goes wibbly. Standard tuning is E for most things, right? That's your standard. You get a guitar out of a box, you're aiming for E. If you're on a Strat or something, you're going to be playing a E, A, D, G, blah, 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 whatever. And same on the bass, like E, A, D, G, blah, and that's your groove. And your guitar will be set up with strings that will be of the right kind of tension, non-wibbliness, to get that kind of, to get that sound, to get that pitch. And if you want to go lower, so D, C, lower, you have to loosen the string off, and then as it gets looser, they get more wobbly and flubby, and sometimes like it's really easy to just kind of like bend them off the thing. They'll just become really loose until you loosen them off and they fall off the guitar, right? Then you have to get thicker strings to increase the tension, the stiffness on the guitar, so you can tune lower. And yeah, but because these are short scale, the guitar version already has 12s. All of my guitars, even the longer ones, have 12s on them because I like the thicker strings. Because I've got kind of ganky hands, and I like the thicker strings the way they feel because I can feel them. 9s always feel a bit flubbery to me. They feel really wobbly no matter how I have them tuned. Now, that's the bonus to this. If I want to go... So the trick with this, right? If you leave it turned off, whatever you've got your guitar tuned to, that's how it's tuned. So like E, right? And then what this does is it'll go, in the simplest terms, half note increments down from wherever you have it set. So, let's say I want to play a song in E standard, the standard tuning of my guitar. I leave the pedal off, and you're just playing in E. I play my song, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's fucking cool. And then I was like, hey, I want to play an Alice in Chains song in E flat. Well, E flat is halfway between E and the next note down. Half a step, that's 1 on here, turn it on, and all of a sudden I'm in E flat. This thing, it's I'm trying to think of the word, but it basically algorithmically detunes your guitar. Magical stuff. Absolutely magical stuff. And it adds a little bit of latency, but it adds more or less seemingly depending on what I plug it into, but amazing, right? And then so I finish the Alice in Chains song, and then I want to play a death song in D. Well, D, that's 1, 2. That's the next note down. If it's going in halves, I go down 2, and I'm on D. And then I can play the death song. My guitar is still tuned in E, but I'm now playing in D. Right? And I was like, oh, what if I want to play a song in, like, if I want to play in C, I have to go all the way down to, 4. Because D, C is next on the list. If I started on D, that'd go to D flat, and then C. Just as a note, so flat is lower, half a step lower, half a note lower than your current tuning. So E, E flat, D, right? But E flat can also be D sharp, because it's D half higher, right? So that's pretty cool. And so this allows me to play all these different songs and all these different tunings without actually having to retune my guitar. Or, I mean, the short scales can go down to C, but they get kind of wobbly. Now, I don't have to worry about string tension and changing strings and changing string gauges, thicknesses, that kind of thing. I can just go, okay, if I wanted to, I could down tune to D or whatever, and then so, well, now I'll go the rest of the way on the pedal. Magic. It's a time saver. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But downside is I did get this from Europe, from Music House Thomann, and they sell for about 130 quid. Okay, which isn't actually bad for what it does. And especially for guitar pedals, if you look, some guitar pedals cost way more than 130 quid. And what this does is actually really, really, really useful. So for 130 quid from Thomann, and that was shipped. But the only downside, because I got it from Europe, it didn't come with a British power supply. A lot of guitar pedals don't actually come with power supplies, but because of this thing's use, I imagine they're like, you kind of really want that plugged in because of what it does. So it comes with a power supply. It's a center pin negative, just in case anyone's curious. 9 volt center pin negative. 9 volts, 300 milliamps, 9 center pin negative. Standard guitar power cable power supply will do the job, right? But as I say, I got it from Europe, so it doesn't come with a British plug. Thankfully, it's just one of those adapter ones where you just slide the bit in that you want into the plug. I guess you could just buy that separately if you wanted to. But what I bought to combat that was this, which is also incredibly cool. It's called a ripcord, and all it really is a step up from 5 volts into 9 volts with the center pin being negative, and just plug this into a USB power bank like this, and then plug your guitar pedal in with this, and biggity bam, job done. You can unscrew a lot of guitar pedals and put a 9 volt battery in them, but I don't like doing that, because then if I forget that the battery's in there, the battery goes bad, then the pedal goes bad, and you know, I don't like doing that if I can help it. So power bank for me it is, but yeah, I just thought that's a cool thing. Yeah, it just says ripcord, model AA927MS, and I think this is really cool and really useful. And so with this and this and this, and then these 2 cables, I can now comfortably play Rocksmith on my super short scale carry-on guitars and not have to faff around with tunings and string tensions and all that kind of stuff. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's a great tool. So what's the weird thing I discovered about myself? Because I led in with that, and I'm mumbling a lot and rambling, right? I've got little travel amps, like pocket amps, like headphone amps, and I plugged one into the Drop, and I don't know if it was just clean tone or like an acoustic simulator, and I was noodling around with it, and I was like, wow, this sounds actually really quite nice. Oh wow, this really does sound nice. So I turned off the pedal, and it went back to like just E, clean E, and I was like, I don't really like this, don't like it. And then I went, put it back down to C, and it kind of tickled me in all the right places. And I was like, oh crap, please tell me this isn't the acoustic simulator. Not acoustic. Don't tell me I like acoustic as long as it's tuned to C. Here's the thing, I don't like acoustic guitar. Traditionally speaking, I don't like acoustic guitar. I can't play acoustic guitar, I don't like acoustic guitar. I'm all for walls and walls of distortion when it comes to guitar. Acoustic sounds weak to me. I don't like it. However, with bass, I don't like bass with buckets of distortion. I like bass to be clean, I like guitar to be distorted as all hell. But even if it wasn't like an acoustic simulator, because I had the Strat plugged into it at the time, oh my god, man, just dropping down from E down to C, that was a weird one for me. I was like, clean guitar actually sounds good when it's tuned low. No, because distorted guitar sounds good no matter what you've got it tuned in, right? All up until your strings break, it still sounds pretty good. But wow, like clean guitar for me sounds good at D, and I only found out because of this thing. Like, oh no! But I think, frankly, this is probably the best 130 quid I've ever spent on guitar equipment, and I've got a wee bit. I'm a pretty simple guy. I've got a few pedals, I've got a few amp sims. I don't do anything hardcore on guitar, like I say, because I'm not smart enough to. I don't know enough about guitar to be able to teach anyone else about guitar. The things I've mentioned so far, they're just so simple. That's like baby's first guitar thing, you know? The tuning, string tension, that kind of stuff. If you had a guitar in your hands and you were like, what do you mean it feels wobbly? Just loosen the string off. It sounds thicker, bassier, lower because it's kind of more wobbly, more wibbly, but by that same token, it's also really wibbly and all over the place until it just falls clean off the guitar. That's like, everyone knows that, everyone sees that, and as you tighten it and tighten it and tighten it, it gets more high pitched until it snaps. If you've got your guitar tuned in a nice comfortable way, this will take it the rest of the way. You know, if you wanted to, I don't know, I'm going to tune in drop G, then this will do the job. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, there's a teeny bit of delay. Like if I plug into Rocksmith, I detect a teeny bit of delay, more so than if I have it turned off. If I plug it into my headphone amp, I don't really get much of it. Maybe it's just me being a noodly idiot, or a noodly brained idiot. I can't noodle on a guitar. I'm not good enough for that. But it sounds like it adds a bit of delay, and there's a little bit of, I don't know, fizz on the high end and flub on the low end that kind of seem to go away. Almost like a little bit of an EQ has been applied, because it is, what is that called? I can't remember the thing where it's doing multiple notes at once, and it's kind of doing a thing to it algorithmically to do a thing. For the life of me, I can't remember what it's called. It's not polyphonic. I don't know. Either way, so it does sound different than if you were to just get slightly different than if you were to just get a guitar and down tune it to the floor. There, you lose a little bit at the low and a little bit in the high, but frankly, realistically, it means nothing. This is a killer piece of kit if you have to play multiple songs and you don't want to have like 6 different guitars tuned different ways, right? And which I do, by the way. I've got like a couple of V's and MLs upstairs, weird shapes to play with the cable just jutting out the bottom of them. They're tuned in D for if I want to play something like Death or whatever, and I've got like an E flat for if I want to play Alice in Chains and stuff, because I don't like sitting there just tuning my guitars all the time. I'd rather just reach over, grab a guitar and in the cable. But now I can just take a guitar, plug it into this, bam, one guitar, and I'll have all the different tunings I want: E flat, D, and C. That's all I really want. So I only have to go down to 4, and I'm good to go. Or if I'm on one of my D-tune guitars, I just have to drop it down to 2. So I go D, D flat, C. This is great. This thing's amazing. They do a version in a whammy pedal too, but this is the doobry I wanted. I can't seem to buy it anywhere in the UK. I don't know if anywhere in America's got them, but Thomann has them. And there goes a lithium battery. Whoops. But you better not go bang by my feet, you son of a bitch. But great, absolutely great piece of kit, and I really probably should work on that Strat, because that neck is not just a truss rod adjustment, but it's a bar in the neck that you get like an Allen key and you twisty and it goes or like to raise or lower the end of it. Don't worry about it. Guitar is a magical instrument that I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing with, and it's great. It's great. I recommend anyone try it, no matter how old you are. I do recommend anyone try any instrument, to be honest, but if you do want to play Rocksmith, this is it's a must. It really is a must. Rather than sitting there, oh mate, I'm in E, better go down to E flat. Retune your guitar, 6 strings retuned. Oh, for fuck's sake, now I want to go back up to E. Retune your guitar. Done. Oh, and it's got an intermittent switch on it as well, so you can make it so that when you press, it doesn't stay turned on. You just press it and then let go of it, and it'll go from like where you're tuned to where you've got it set, so you can go from like E to D. And it's also got an octaver, so that'd be like, if you're in E, that'd be E to E. And then it's got an octaver and an octave and dry, so that would be an octave lower and your current tuning together, which is interesting. But yeah, cool toy. Learned new things about myself. Fuck you, acoustic. I need to learn, and I'm now going to go because my light's flashing again because I forgot to charge things because I was excited that I got my pedal. Fuck, this thing's great. This and this. I wish I had these when I was a kid. My God, the technology we have these days is amazing. Hope you'll all see you with a bit of luck in the next one. Stupid C-tuned acoustic.